life. He died in 2007, and we were involved clear up until he died. So I started with him as a manager when I was 21 years old, and we learned together. And he had a lot of creative ideas about taking country music to places that had never been before. So part of what I wanted to do was to do something that everybody else didn't do and become unique in my own way of presenting things or making sales. So I made it kind of a mantra of mine to say we're going where it's never been gone before, where it's never been before. And so we took country music where it had never been before. And eventually I had other artists that I managed as well too. From Hank Thompson, he introduced me to a young high school girl in Oklahoma City. Her name was Wanda Jackson. And I became involved with her and remained as her manager agent for about 20 years after that. And from Wanda Jackson, I had booked a lot of dates for her in Las Vegas. And she said, I really want to put a good band together. I've got a guitar player in Washington, D.C. that's great, I'm going to hire. Well, I didn't realize how great he was. But that was Roy Clark. And he came on as, this 1959, this is, 100 years ago. But he came on and he was the most fantastic guitar player I ever saw in my life and great entertainer. So I had three people that believed in me and I believed in them. And we started out to conquer the world, and we did in a lot of ways, too. So we took country music places where it had never been before, and did things that nobody had ever done before with country music. The first, we were first to take country music to New York City. In the heart of the city, I went to Madison Square Garden, and everybody said, Manhattan is not going to support country music. There won't be anybody buy tickets to a show in Manhattan. I went in there on a Saturday, and I made a deal with a promoter up there. I said, what we want to do, there won't be anybody in town on Saturday, so the trains, while they're still running, will be basically empty, coming in from New Jersey. And I said, let's have a special country music train. So we filled up Madison Square Garden, not with people from Manhattan, but from people that came in from New Jersey. On the train on Saturday, we had a special deal that the ticket was so much, you got to come see the show, and I think you got a sandwich or a pizza or something along with it. And so we filled up Madison Square Garden with country music. And then everybody said it was going to be impossible. Went to Carnegie Hall a number of times. And while there had been other country artists, very few that had played Carnegie Hall, I did three things that nobody else had done. Number one, all simultaneously we put on the concert, which had been done before. But we recorded a live and in-person album there, and we did a live broadcast. So we did a triple threat thing that nobody in country music had ever done. And that was with Roy Clark, Hank Thompson, Don Williams, and Freddie Fender. And then I took other shows there with the Oak Ridge Boys, with Alvin Crow, with Mel Tillis, with Donna Fargo. All of these had big records at that time. Well, if you can do that and set yourself aside and you can be first at something, I mean, somebody's always going to come along and probably do it better, but nobody can ever say they did it first. We, at this time in the 1970s, there was so much conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, USSR, that we thought they were going to bomb us any day, and they thought we were going to bomb them any day. And we were trying to figure a way that through our efforts as country music performers and impresario, that we could take a peaceful, goodwill type of trip to the Soviet Union and spread goodwill for America in a place that was very hostile. Roy Clark and I were in Las Vegas, where we were playing one of the Howard Hughes hotels and watching TV, and this was in 1974. this 42 years ago. There were a group of Soviet dignitaries getting off the plane in Seattle to attend the World's Fair, and they were being interviewed. And the interviewer said about their trip to the United States and said, "Is there any place that you'd like to go that you haven't been?" And the leader of the delegation said, "Well, yes, we'd like to go to Las Vegas, but it's not on our itinerary." So Roy Clark and I looked at each other and said, "Well, let's invite him to Las Vegas and come see your show." Just kind of as a joke. But the next day I called the State Department, and the State Department says, "Well, they're free to go there if somebody pays their way, but we don't have any funds to do it. But if you can find somebody to put them up and pay their way, they can do whatever they want." So we made arrangements with Howard Hughes, at that time the richest man in the world, and owned 6 hotels in Las Vegas, and he owned an airline. His company flew those Soviets into Las Vegas on his airline, which at that time was called Hughes West. And we had the limos, picked them up from the hotel, and brought there, I think there were 18 in that delegation. And they came to our Frontier Hotel show that night. But the minute they walked in, everybody greeted them and, gave them each a bag of quarters to play the slot machines, and they just scattered everywhere. We didn't know whether we'd ever see them again or whether they'd defect or what. But they showed up that night to Roy's show at the Frontier Hotel, and they all sat right in front of him along the seat, and they loved it. And they came backstage after the concert. Roy, of course, is one of the most fantastic showmen. He can do everything and was a great musician. They came backstage after, all 18 of them, and they had a case of vodka on their shoulder. And they were back there, and everybody was breaking out and toasting and all that. And that's when he got the invitation to come to the Soviet Union, because these were very high dignitaries. Well, it took almost 2 years to put that together. So when we did go there, we went there for 21 days and played 20 sold-out concerts in arenas and sports arenas and that. It created more good for the goodwill for America between the two countries than anything that had ever been done before. And it was very interesting to see how that would take place. When we went there, it was very hostile, even to us, because Americans were not popular in the Soviet Union at that time. And it took about 2 days to fly there. And we got off in Moscow at midnight after 2 days of flying. And at that time, you got off on the tarmac, didn't go directly into the building. And between the airplane and the building itself, it was lined by soldiers on either side of our walkway there. And each one of those soldiers had a Kalashnikov machine gun and holding it there with a finger on the trigger. And we got off that plane. It was the most welcoming that you can imagine. And Roy looked at me, this after we were all just dead tired too. He said, "Halsey, what have you gotten us into?" But what we did get them into was the opening up of a friendship between the two countries that they couldn't do diplomatically, but we were able to do it through music and harmony and friendship and singing and musicians and that it proved the point to a lot of people all around the world that there's still a connection between people to people. Maybe not between government to government, but people to people can still have a camaraderie between each other. So that was a big lesson for all of us, including the State Department, including the Soviets. We went back again about 12 years later and did another tour there and did television. But music and art are such a moving, powerful entity that all of our lives can be changed for the better by being involved with it. Whether you're an artist, or you're involved in the business side, or you're just a patron that loves to go to a concert and spend 2 to 4 hours transporting yourself to another space we know that through art and music, there's a magic there that those of us that are in the business can help participate in and help promote. Well, that was my interest all of my life, and I'm still doing it today. We started these classes, and we have 60 of the best people in the business, the leaders, presidents of record companies, of booking agencies, of management companies, of publishing companies, promoters, tell you and give you the insight about what the music business. Even if you're not going to be in the music business, we call this first group of 3 classes a fast track, because you'll get a scope of everything that goes on in it. And you, as a young lawyer that are coming into the business, would be a good education for you to get a rounded feeling of what this whole business is about in these 3 courses. We'll have others that will go along with it to be more in depth. But we've tried to do in the beginning to do an overview, primarily to get you interested in the business itself and say, yes, that's a portion of the business that I'd like to do and like to be involved in. I think I'll look into that further. And there's nobody else that has this type of online course that we have. This is unique. Take a look at it, and you get, Nathan, what is that, a minute or 3 minute?
Yeah, right on the front page, halseyinstitute.com, there's a minute-long kind of promo video, and plays well on any handheld devices as well. You can take all the classes from laptop,
your phone,
iPad.
So that's kind of in a nutshell what my life has been and what it is. And I've had and been blessed with being involved with some of the best attorneys in the business. Sorry about that. So, the one lawyer that I have, his name is Joel Katz. And he is the biggest lawyer in the music and entertainment business. The reason we are such good friends is that I've known him forever, and we started kind of together 45 years ago. And he's head of a big company that has 800 lawyers in it. That, to give you an idea, Mann & Phillips and Phelps. He lives in Atlanta, Georgia, but he's all over everywhere. He was Waylon's attorney, and he was Willie's attorney, he still is. And he was Merle's attorney, plus Mr. James Brown and a lot of the rock artists in there. But I'm very fortunate that our friendship has remained, because I can visit with him or go to dinner with him on a personal basis and really get some good mentoring myself. Now, I was telling somebody that was involved in a labor dispute that I had some labor disputes myself back in the early 1960s, and I became involved with the National Labor Relations Board and the things that we were doing and going into places like Las Vegas and that without having so-called union protection, even though a lot of the people that I involved with were union members. And I became very good friends with an attorney. His name is Godfrey P. Schmidt. And you can look him up today. He's gone, been gone for a long time. But he was the foremost labor attorney in America, in New York. And he became very good friends. And as an artist manager, I learned all that I could learn, and I certainly didn't want to take a position of giving any legal advice, but I wanted to know the right questions to ask, so when you do have an attorney that's charging you $1,000 or $2,000 an hour, that you're not asking him how the ball game's going, or How's the weather in Atlanta? You know, you want to get to the point, because that's all the clock goes. If you're calling about business, the clock starts. So that's kind of what I have done and what I'm doing, and it's involved in the creative areas a lot, and I'm glad to see you as attorneys here, because you're going to be out there helping people make their lives easier by keeping them legal. And those of you that are interested in getting the music and entertainment business, it's a good field. Debbie Scroggins, who is a graduate of TU here, and she, maybe you know her, maybe you don't, but she graduated last year. And she was, first she interned in our company, and then she became part of it. And then now she is in Nashville with a full-fledged career going for her, involved with a lot of important people. So Nashville is not just country music either. It's every kind of music that there is. Any questions?
Do you solely work with Mr. Cap's firm, or do you work with other lawyers?
I work with other, I don't have near as much legal work. He's still a very good friend of mine.
And are the other lawyers usually in like bigger firms, or are they like solo practitioners? Or?
No, his firm are all seasoned lawyers. A lot of young people in there, but they're very good lawyers, and some of them are learning, because they'll take in maybe 1 or 2 or 3 attorneys a year, and of course they don't know anything about the business at that time, so they have to learn the business as well as the legal aspects of it. So Matt Phelps and Phillips have offices in New York and Los Angeles and Atlanta. It so happens he's in Atlanta.
Are there, for us, if we want to get started in Tulsa, what kind of suggestions would you have for getting into the music industry around here?
Well, there are a number of music organizations here in town. First of all, I'd make it to where you know all the bands in town, because you never know who's going to break out and get a record deal and go on to become bigger. Then I'd know all the venues in town, all the Vanguard type of Gaines Ballroom type of places. If you're looking for maybe a job or something while you're going to school, a job in one of those places, even if you're just doing menial things, you're going to learn just by being there. So the music industry in Tulsa is consisted of the Oklahoma, what do they call it now, the Oklahoma Film and Music?
There's the Tulsa Film and Music Office, and there's the Oklahoma Film and Music Office.
Right. And there's a young lady by the name of Abby Kern here that runs one of those. But there are organizations that you can get involved with here in town. They kind of give you the feel. Music industry is the same everywhere. And you get, so if you move to in Nashville or New York or LA, at least you know what the industry is about. You know what promotion is about.
Be a good idea to network in some of those, get on their mailing list. They have mixers, networking is really important, as you know, for any situation you need to be networking.
Yeah, that Tulsa Film and Music Office is what used to be the mayor's department of everything from film, arts, and music, and it's its own entity. It's still funded by the city, but that Abby Curran, she's young and very energetic and doing a lot of different events for both filmmakers and musicians and collaborative and entrepreneurs. So to get young attorneys up in the mix would be a wise thing for everybody involved.
And there's certain festivals that would be important to go, like South by Southwest in Austin. A lot of people look at that as just a big party and a big time, but it's also everybody in the music industry is there.
There's a big festival coming up in Nashville, the Music Biz Festival, that's May 16th through 18th. there's a whole day of legal, it's really going to be a phenomenal conference.
And there are national organizations that you can belong to that keep you advised of things that do go on within your community and other music industry communities as well. Then read your trades, the number one trade in the business is still Billboard magazine. And Billboard has not only all the news, but all the reviews of bands, artists, records, the videos, social media, IT, and it's also online. So that's probably the most inclusive. Something like Rolling Stone, you get it more from maybe a fan's aspect, but it's still an important source of information.
If you can, get an externship with an entertainment attorney, because the entertainment contracts are different. I mean, you have to know industry standards to even understand what the contract is going to say. There's a lot of different aspects, and you're not going to find that from just a regular GP attorney here. I mean, you need to really do some work with a specialized attorney.
Do you have a time frame for when you'll be adding more classes to the website?
Well, we're doing it now. Nathan's putting them together.
Yeah, in fact, the course that's on there right now is it's a 3-hour-long program in total, but they're broken into 27 different videos that are ranged from 6 to 12 minutes. So it's pretty easy to watch, but there's a lot to digest there as well. And after you've watched these first 3 hours, you know, people, whether they're aspiring artists or aspiring entertainment attorneys, you get a good idea of every different role and team that's involved in making up an artist's career and what all those people do, so that people can get an idea of where they fit into that, and really give you something to get started with right away in terms of wisdom and knowledge from all these different people that they interviewed.
So when we finish these, we hope to have 30 hours, which would be equivalent to 2 semesters of college. And we have, we're getting ready to do an online program, a bricks and mortar program down at Bacone College in Muskogee, where you'll actually can earn college credit. But right now, the important thing is you learn the aspects of what the business is about, who all the players are, and what they do. So that's basically my story. I hope that I've given you some information that might be useful. Any more questions? And I'm always available for anybody who wants to come see me in my office, visit with you more.
Where's your office?
It's in the vicinity of 31st and Sharon. It's 3225 South Norwood. Right off the Broken Arrow Expressway on the Sharon.
Anybody can reach out to me too if they want.
I can give you her email if you need it.
And my email is jim@jimhalsey.com.
Anybody else?
I think I have a question.
Yes.
For a young band or young artist traveling across the country in a bus, just driving around playing shows, what's the best contact for them to make? Or, who should they reach out to? Probably, I guess, priority number one, who should they try to be in contact with, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, if they can find a booking agent that will book them,
Yeah.
that's your first contact. If not, you're going to have to go online and go to Oklahoma City and see what clubs are playing the type of music that they play, and send them some information. And you go to Amarillo and find out the clubs in Amarillo, to Albuquerque, and you can just hypothetically lay out your tour and then go to those cities and find out the different clubs. Like Tulsa, all the clubs are here, and there are probably 50 clubs that use some sort of entertainment or another. Same way in Oklahoma City, same way in Kansas City, so Wichita. So if you can't go too far, you're driving by van or you have cars, kind of just draw a circle around Tulsa and say, we can go this far with what we have, and find out who's playing who and what kind of music they're playing. But there's a pretty big music scene in Everett now. You're not gonna make a lot of money, but if you have your own CD or your own music to sell or own t-shirts, a lot of it can be done by selling your merchandise. So, I know several bands that sell their own CDs, several artists, single artists that do that too. And you know, they can sell 10 to 20 CDs a night. They made a couple $100.
Right.
And then whatever you get off the door or past the kitty or by donation or whatever. Or go to a car dealer and say, let us play on your car lot Saturday afternoon and bring you a lot of people here. And then sell your stuff there. If they won't pay you, say, we'll do it free. And sell your merch. That's the way a lot of people get started and get going.
Contact the local media too.
Yeah, the local, because everybody's always looking for a new band and new music. Even a band that plays covers, which a lot of times when you get started, you got to play covers because that's what people want to hear. Then you can sneak in your own. But one point I didn't make is it's all about original music. So that's the most important thing that anybody's doing is writing new songs. And that's going to bring you success and money faster than anything else. You may not even become a big star yourself, but if you've got records by somebody else even, good songs, that's where it's happening. Thank you for coming and spending your time.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to take our class. You'll find it, I think, they're really not only interesting, but educational as well, too. Thank you.
Just a few things about, is anybody available on Friday? We're supposed to go to Kendall Whittier for a sports clinic. I just want like 4 or 5 people to go with us. That's all we had last year and it was fine. Anybody? No?
What
So
time?
it's from like 11:45 to 2. You can get credit for